Good afternoon from Rio de Janeiro. Our original plan for this morning was to go to Copacabana Beach. However, it's been raining, so we just came back to the room and we've watched some of the Olympics. However, it is now time to head out and grab some lunch before we go on our tour of the day.
Let's go.
I just love this old-time elevator so much. It reminds me of the one that was in my great-aunt's building in Golders Green in London. Such good memories.
Absolutely excellent choice for a delicious lunch. But now it is time to head to the Rocinha Favela for a walking tour. While you can pay for this online, apparently it's actually cheaper to pay with cash in person, and so the price for us doing that is 150 reais per person. We'll see how this goes, and if we find it to be really good, we will leave a link in the description below so you can book it for yourself. A favela is a highly populated urban residential area consisting of densely packed housing units of poor built quality. The term was first used by soldiers who were brought from the War of Canudos in the state of Bahia to Rio de Janeiro in the late 19th century. In Bahia, they lived on a hill littered with favela trees, so when they settled on Providencia Hill in Rio de Janeiro, they nicknamed it Favela Hill.
Between 1565, when the Portuguese colonized Rio de Janeiro, and 1889, when Brazil declared its independence, Rio de Janeiro was the largest slave port in America. When slavery was abolished, many former enslaved Africans moved to favelas because they could not afford urban housing. The situation worsened in the 1950s when there was a rapid and mass migration from the Brazilian countryside to the cities by those hoping to take advantage of the economic opportunities available in urban areas. The new migrants arrived with very little, if any, money, so they were forced to erect and settle in favelas on the outskirts of town. When Brazil's capital shifted from Rio de Janeiro to Brasilia in 1960, employment opportunities declined. The new migrants were unable to find work or afford housing within city limits, so they remained in favelas.
Favelas are typically associated with extreme poverty. In the 1970s, Brazil's military dictatorship introduced a favela eradication policy, whereby residents were moved into public housing projects. However, poor public planning and insufficient financial investment from the government led to the disintegration of these projects into new favelas. The drug trade started to emerge in favelas in the 1980s as Rio de Janeiro became a popular transit point for cocaine destined for Europe. While the drug trade was profitable, it also resulted in violence from gangs competing for dominance and control. While there are still some favelas ruled by organized crime groups like drug traffickers or militias, all of the favelas in Rio's South Zone and key favelas in the North Zone are managed by police pacifying units.
We're now back at our Airbnb after the tour of the favela, and we're kind of dry.
Not really.
It might take a little bit to get dry, but today's just been a weird day because it has really been raining quite heavily and quite steadily the whole day. Although that didn't make for great conditions to do a walking tour in, it did show us the vulnerability of the favelas. Because of their location on a steep hill, and also because of the cheap building materials and poor construction that the buildings are usually made of. Favelas are more susceptible to flooding and landslides, and that was just crystal clear to us today, which I'm sure you saw in the video footage. But it was interesting to go there and see it because we have done tours also of Gethsemane in Cartagena, Colombia, and Comuna 13 in Medellin, Colombia, which I typically would think of as similar, but those areas have been gentrified, whereas it seems even this favela, which is the largest in the city and actually the largest in South America, it hasn't been gentrified.
Yeah, it was interesting because even though it was deemed to be safe enough for us to go on a tour around it, there were certain parts where it's like, you do not take any photos or videos because drug dealers are still operating and we don't want to incriminate them and we don't want to anger anybody as we go through here. So clearly, while it is certainly a safer favela to go around, it's still obviously not without its issues, and definitely having a tour guide is completely necessary. The tour guides that we had were super nice, really, really passionate about wanting to show us the absolute best that they could of the places that we were going to. But I think there was just something a little bit lacking in comparison to other tours that we've done. Then we've just been given at times just barrages of really, really useful, important foundational information about the hows and the whys of each of the places that we go to. Whereas today I went into it with a very, very basic knowledge of what a favela is, why it exists, how it came to be, all of that kind of stuff. And unfortunately, I still continue to have a foundational / basic level of knowledge about all of those things. But I want to give the benefit of the doubt to the tour guides. I feel like the rain kind of made everybody panic a little bit. And so rather than potentially going through like the history, some personal stories or anything like that, it became just about making sure that everybody wasn't completely drenched. But overall, considering how much, or in some cases how little, we've actually had to pay for some of the walking tours that we've done in the past, we ended up paying quite a lot of money for this. And I just don't feel like we got the experience that I really got the value for money out of this tour that I think I was expecting.
I completely agree because we did free walking tours in Gethsemane and Comuna 13, and I guess we paid about $10 per person for those. And on the other tours, as Nick mentioned, we got a ton of information. And the only reason I know the information I do about favelas, and I hope I read correctly, is because I researched it last night.
So I feel like the overarching feeling is, not to sound like a parent or anything, but not anger, just disappointment. Not least because I think fundamentally, like, I've been looking forward to coming to the city forever, and it has been so good over the past few days, and we've had such good experiences, but today just has felt a tad disappointing. I think it may just be one of those things where we just ended up having a bad day, so be it. These things do happen, stuff doesn't always go according to plan, and there's nothing you can do about it, especially when you're traveling on a budget with stricter itineraries and all of that kind of stuff. These things happen, and this is just one of those days.
But I am glad that I got to go to a favela, even though it left me wanting more. That was the whole thing. Like, I was just so interested. And I'm still so interested, but I'm glad I got to see it. But we don't want to end this video on a downer.
No.
So we wanted to wish everybody a very happy new year, and we're wishing everybody all the happiness and health for 2025.
In terms of what we have planned for 2025, we're still cooking some stuff up, but as soon as we know what we're going to be doing, then we will definitely be letting you know. So that will come in a future video.
And of course, we'll be bringing you along for it all too.
I mean, obviously, duh. Who would we be if we wouldn't? But that is going to be all that we have for now. Thanks for joining us while we've been going through Rio, and not to discredit this city in any way, shape or form, but I am even more excited about what is to come.
I can't wait.
It's going to be nuts, and we really hope that you join us for that as well. But until next time, take care.
And keep smiling.